welcome to Season 4 of 2000's Childhood Pop. My name is Mr. 96. 3 years ago, I started this series to look back at music from the decade I grew up in before it became retro. But now that it's 2020, I'm starting to think that time is now.
A rich nigga, 8-figure, that's my type.
Is it me, or has the 90s retro era been entirely skipped? Other than Bruno Mars making a New Jack Swing song, it seems like people are just ready to sample the 2000s. I mean, DJ Khaled already sampled Maria Maria 3 years ago. There's also that time last year when he sampled Miss Jackson, which, come on man, that's a classic. Why couldn't you just leave that one alone? Anyways, now that the 2000s are literally 2 decades ago, this series is technically going to become my retro series moving forward, so I think it's only right that I kick off this season with a bang. I don't want to just talk about some obscure song from my childhood this time around. I want to start with something everyone knows. A #1 hit alone is not going to be enough. I need something so etched into pop culture that even kids today will recognize. And with our real world 2020 starting off terribly for everyone, now's the perfect time to look back at some better days. So I thought it would be best to look back at a song that placed #1 in its respective year-end Hot 100. After all, there were only 10 of those throughout the decade, so it had to be one of the 10 greatest hits of the 2000s, right? Right? Oh boy, this one. I'm sure you're familiar with this, right? I mean, of course you are, who isn't by this point? Plus, if there were a time for me to be reviewing this song, it would be right now. What other time am I gonna cover an artist who constantly wears hats the same week I'm wearing one? For the record, I'm only wearing this because the quarantine won't let me get a haircut, but I also think it's a sign that I should be talking about Bad Day by Daniel Powter. After all, everyone's going through terrible times, so it only makes sense to look over an iconic song about going through terrible times. Or at least that's how it should be. If I'm gonna be completely honest, this episode's gonna be more of a brainstorm than an actual thesis on the song. I mean, yeah, I definitely remember hearing this song a lot as a 10-year-old in 2006, but if you ask me why it was the biggest hit of the year, I wouldn't be able to give you a concise answer. For a song that's played so seriously, I'm surprised it's been used so ironically over the last 14 years. If anything, I've seen more people regard Bad Day as a punchline than an actual tune they adore. Hell, even the NFL used this as a joke song in their fantasy football ads. But to be fair, that's just anecdotal evidence. I'm not sure what the actual consensus is on this song all these years later, so I'm gonna see what others think to get a read the room.
Well, it more depends on my mood, but at best, it's mind-numbing and we could certainly do better. At worst, it's frustrating and pretentious.
Okay, that's a bit harsh.
You know that one person who always wants to be helpful and give advice, even if they don't actually have anything to add? That's this song.
Surely that's not something shared by everyone, right?
Man, this biggest hit song of 2006 sure does exist, doesn't it?
That's slightly more positive, but surely such an iconic work of art must have left quite the lasting legacy. Now, if there was anyone whose career was boosted by this song, it was definitely not Daniel Powter, as he ended up becoming a one-hit wonder, at least in the United States. Now, the real beneficiary of Bad Day was music video director Mark Webb, whom you may recognize as the guy who eventually made a mediocre Spider-Man reboot and its atrociously shitty sequel. As for the song itself, let's see why this piano ballad ended up being the biggest hit of 2006.
So where was the passion when you needed the most?
Okay, so the song's detailing the feelings of having a bad day. That's obvious, but I like that it specifically points out the loss of passion, which is prevalent during those times. Hell, the world is living through bad days right now. Surely Daniel Powter has the right words to get us back on our feet.
You had a bad day, you're taking one down, you sing a sad song just to turn it around.
Alright, that's normal behavior. I think we all like to jam to some less than happy music when we're down in the dumps. I know I have.
You had a bad day, you had a bad day.
I see, you had a bad day. So, where's the solution? This is the part where you're supposed to tell me things will get better, right? Yeah, I never realized until doing this episode that Bad Day doesn't actually tell you how to get through your bad day. It describes the bad day, but it doesn't seem to have a moral or lesson we can take from it. I've heard my contemporaries say this song is condescending and grating, and I totally get it, as it definitely sounds like it's coming from an ignorant outside perspective.
Cause you had a bad day, you're taking one down.
He's just casually observing everything like a lazy bystander. How am I supposed to gain anything from this?
You had a bad day, the camera don't lie.
So I've been watching you and noticed that you're having a bad day. Well, that sucks. Anyways, carry on. Look, I don't deny that this song basically says a whole bunch of nothing. It's meaningful in theory, but not in practice. Yet despite that, I don't know, something about it just appeals to me. Perhaps it's just the nostalgia goggles, but then again, nostalgia goggles didn't save Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne from sounding awful in hindsight. Bad Day just works for me in a way none of Daniel Powter's other songs do. I've listened to a few songs he released around the time of Bad Day, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but none of those songs stick with me for more than 5 minutes. They've got this general upbeat piano sound that's good enough to not sound amateur, but not quite catchy enough to leave a lasting mark. For example, this song right here charted higher than Bad Day in his home country of Canada, and while it's not bad, it doesn't stick in your brain the way Bad Day does. And it's not like there was zero market for piano ballads at the time. This was around the same time John Legend made a splash with a piano ballad hit, yet he managed to stick around much longer than Daniel Powter. Besides the fact that John Legend had the advantage of being a sexy R&B man, even the composition of Ordinary People had more going for it. Just listen to the opening. That intro alone sounds way more complex and memorable than any of Daniel Powter's music. Makes you wonder why current John Legend can't reach those same heights. Like, I listen to Daniel Powter's music and the vibe I get is someone trying to remake Drops of Jupiter, one of the few decent Train songs. With that being said, Bad Day has something going for it that none of his other songs do. Whether you like it or not, that piano riff definitely sticks in your brain from its matter-of-fact sound. Some may say it's because of overplay, but I'm gonna call bullshit on that since I first heard this song on a Now That's What I Call Music ad, and it only took about 5 seconds of the chorus for me to remember it forever. For one, the main chord that's played is a simple E-flat 5th chord, and its use of dotted quarter notes in the treble creates syncopation in the rhythm that gives its simple composition a sing-songy sound. For comparison, Lost Boy by Ruth B plays every note as straight to the beat as possible with no interesting twists on the chords, and that song would absolutely put me to sleep if it weren't also frustratingly amateur. In terms of composition, my favorite part of Bad Day is right after the first chorus.
You had a bad day.
It takes a more optimistic tone with some nice melody, showing his intent to brighten someone's day, so even if the lyrics don't necessarily paint the best picture, I can at least hear what kind of theme he was going for. If I had to give my thoughts on Bad Day, I'd say it's a song I wouldn't actively seek out, but one I'm glad exists. Whether it's because it's fun to listen to or fun to laugh at, I think the world needs a song like this. Some of the worst songs to hit the charts are ones I wish never existed, and on that front, it's definitely not in that category. Love it, hate it, appreciate it, that's Bad Day. Once again, my name is Mr. 96. If you want to see more music reviews, click the subscribe button below and tap that bell to be notified when I drop a new episode. That does it for my Season 4 premiere of 2000's Childhood Pop. Let's get back to some hit music. Sort of. Pop songs may come in numbers, but there's only one. 96.
너의 그 말 그 잔인한 말 가슴 아파